What's up, guys? It's Meg. Today we are talking about the brand new promo that came out just the other day for the upcoming mid-season of Season 4 in February, and it was nearly 4 minutes long. If you haven't watched it yet, you have got to watch it. What's wrong with you? It was amazing. So there was a lot of new footage in it, and there were also cast and producer interviews. Not really interviews, but their thoughts and comments on it, which was really awesome. So the way this video today is going to go is that I put down second and minute marks, and I will tell you what part of the promo I'm looking at, and then if you want, you can actually go through with me, and we're going to pause at each of the minute marks, and I'm going to talk to you about what I think. There was so much good stuff in there. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about it today. Okay, here we go. If you want to watch the promo, the link is in the description. Can't talk. So click on it and we can go through together. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there were three really good questions at the very beginning of the promo that were said, and they were, how do we get everyone back together? How do we stay safe? And how do we find sanctuary? So this is really going to be, these three questions are really going to be the theme to the last 8 episodes of Season 4 of The Walking Dead. So with that in mind, I'm going to start with Rick and Carl and go through some stuff, and then I will go through everything else. We know Rick and Carl are going to have the first episode, and it's going to be really a really interesting thing to see because it's straight from the comics, and also just to see how their relationship has changed. We know that they've kind of been, at the end of Season 3, Carl was kind of disgusted with his dad. He wasn't happy that his dad brought back all the Woodbury people. He threw the sheriff's badge things, the star for the hat, on the ground in front of Rick. You know, he was just disgusted with him. And then at the beginning of Season 4, we see that all of that has changed. Carl is getting to be kind of a kid again. He's been helping his dad with the farming, and their relationship seems a lot better. And then at the end of the mid-season finale, during the mid-season finale, we see Carl say that he could take out the governor and end this right now. And Daryl tells him to wait, that his dad's handling it. And then, you know, I think in Carl's mind, his dad didn't handle it. He didn't kill the governor, you know, when he had the opportunity to save Herschel. And instead he tried to talk the governor out of it, and Herschel ends up dying, and just all chaos breaks loose. And you can really, in this promo, you can really see the tension between them. So let's start just some of the minute marks. At 44 seconds, we see Rick and Carl in the background of the scene, walking towards this diner with all of these motorcycles out front. Then at 50 seconds, we see Carl in that same diner. And then, to prove that Michonne meets up with them at some point, I believe she's somehow tracking them. I don't think they're there at the same time. In fact, I know they're not there at the same time, but she's tracking them. Because at 1 minute 17 seconds, you see Michonne in that same diner. I mean, just look around the first time we see Carl in the diner, and then look at Michonne in 1:17, and you can just tell it's the same diner inside. And then at minute mark 1:42, Michonne is in this outside of the same diner, and she takes out a walker, and you can see all of the motorcycles right there. So we know they're in the exact same place, which is really neat because it kind of comes straight from the comics. She tracked them and met up with them, you know, and then at 1:51, we see Rick and Carl in the diner. They're holding up their guns, kind of checking out. It almost looks like Carl's taking the lead. In the other promo that we saw, the one that was only 31 seconds, remember when we paused it and we saw Rick with what looked like his hatchet taking out that huge walker? That's the same diner that they're in. So that's pretty cool. And then we see a scene of Carl shooting in the diner at 1:59, and it looks like maybe, if I remember right, I think in the comics they were in a grocery store or whatnot, and Rick attempted to use a hatchet on a walker and it didn't work, and he had to come outside to get him. And I think I'm not sure, but I think Carl ended up shooting the walker. I kind of think that's what's going to happen in the diner. Rick's going to try and take out this huge walker with his hatchet, and it's not going to work, and Carl's going to have to do it and save him. Okay, so that's it for that portion. There's another portion of Carl and Rick that I also wanted to point out to touch on it. So that's just kind of them in the diner and proving that Michonne does go to that same diner. What I'd also like to point out is that we see them a lot in this particular house. And so at minute mark 53 seconds, we see Rick in the kitchen. He kind of just looks beat, you know. I mean, you only see it for a split second, but he doesn't look that well off. You can tell that they're just inspecting the house. At 1 minute 20 seconds, Rick and Carl look like they're setting up the house for the night. They flip a couch over. And then at minute mark 136, we're back to Carl and Rick in the living room, sitting in there. And you can see, I believe, that the door behind them is tied with like a cord, like a phone cord or something to kind of keep them safe. So what I think they've done is they've hunkered down in this living room and made it safe and secure so they can spend the night there. At this point, I think that is, at some point right around there is when Rick's going to pass out and go into his short-term coma from his gunshot. And then at minute mark 141, we see Rick and Carl, they're back at the couch, and they both look towards the door, because you know that that direction is where we saw the door tied with the cord. They look towards the door as if they've just heard something, so that may be the portion where the walkers are at the door. I'm not sure. And then from minute mark 2 minutes until like 2 minutes 17 seconds, you hear them talking about Carl and Rick's relationship in the background, but you kind of see a bunch of stuff. You see Carl walking ahead of Rick, and Rick is just like kind of limping, and he looks just, it's right after, you know, they've probably walked a while, and his eyes all, you know, messed up, and he's all bloody, and he's limping because he's been shot, and he asks Carl to slow down, and Carl is just like walking as fast as he can ahead of Rick, and he really acts like he just doesn't give a crap, and he has no intention of slowing down. This kind of shows me that Carl is just annoyed with his dad, upset, his dad's weak, you know, he's better at protecting, he could have done it all better. I just get that feeling from Carl that he's resentful for what happened, and he's just like, I don't need you, you know, you're not necessarily, you know, of course he would be sad if his dad died, but he's kind of in that cocky stage where he's acting as if he could have done it all better, his choices would have been better choices, and he's just annoyed with his dad. At least that's what I'm getting from it. And then the looks that they keep giving each other, you know, when they're sitting on the couch and they look at each other, and at one point, maybe I didn't write this down, but we heard Carl say to his dad, I saved you, and he's just like, come on, I saved you. Like, I don't know, it's just oh yeah, it's at minute mark 1 minute and 3 seconds. He's got attitude, and he's just like, I saved you. Which I thought was really interesting. He did save, you know, Rick at the prison was, you know, coming up, and 2 walkers were in front of him, and he was so weak, I don't think that he could have taken on 2 walkers, and Carl shot the walkers and saved him. So, you know, it is true, but I honestly think that if Carl had shot the governor right then and there, yeah, maybe Herschel would have lived, but it would have caused the same thing to happen. Everybody on the governor's side would have freaked and started shooting and taken the tank and mowed everything down. It's likely that a lot of people will still have died, you know. I don't think Carl could have really done it that much better, but in Carl's head, I think that he thinks that he could have. And therefore, he kind of resents his dad for the decisions that his dad has made. He's never really agreed with his dad. He really hasn't. We see them butting heads all the time, and Carl's trying to grow up and be a man and make decisions, but he's not. He's still a kid, and he's frustrated by that, I'm guessing. Okay, moving right along, back to my other points. So we saw Lizzy and Mika. Oh my gosh, if you saw my reaction video, I screamed like, oh my gosh, there's the girls, because I was not expecting to see them at all. I really wasn't. But they showed them to us, and what I was so excited about was, okay, we first see them at minute mark 1 minute and 28 seconds. They've got their backs to us. They're walking down the train tracks, but Lizzy, I think it was Lizzy, it looks like she's carrying a bag on her shoulder, and it's a bigger bag. It looks like a diaper bag. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not, but it makes me think, of course, we don't see Judith, but maybe something happened to them. But I honestly think that they ran back and grabbed the bag. And Judith, I mean, it just furthers our reasoning that Judith is alive, because I honestly don't think, you know, when the girls came out and they shot Alicia and saved Tyrese, they weren't carrying anything. And when Tyrese said, it's time to go, we've got to go that way, the girls ran off. I honestly think that it was to go get the bag and get Judith. And then we see them walking with the bag. It just makes sense. They wouldn't have been like, oh, hold on, let me go get my toys, or let me go get, you know, some of my stuff and go pack up their stuff. It seems more reasonable that Judith's bag would have already had, you know, diapers or stuff in it. And then at minute mark 1:38, we see Lizzy carrying the bag again. And once again, it's a bigger bag. It looks like a diaper bag to me. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm a mom, so I kind of know what those things look like. But, you know, it didn't have a baby bottle sticking out of it or anything like that. So it's not 100% that it is, but that's what I think. And we also saw Lizzy one more time, or two more times. One more time at 1 minute 57 seconds. Lizzy was looking down at something on the ground. And just the look on her face. Now, if you guys have seen any of my other videos, I've said this before, I kind of think they're going the Lizzy Mika storyline as in the two twins from the comics. If you don't know what happened in the comics, I'm not going to spoil it for you right now, but that's kind of where I've always thought Lizzy and Mika's characters were heading. Even though I like them, I've kind of thought that they're a little bit disturbed. And so seeing Lizzy looking at something on the ground, and she looked very serious, I was just wondering if that, you guys, if you've read the comics, you know what I'm thinking. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just making something out of nothing, but there's that. And then one more time for Mika and Lizzy, we see them at 3 minutes and 18 seconds. Now at first I only thought we were seeing Mika. She's pointing a gun and she looks like she's about to shoot something, a walker, obviously. But then when you pause it, if you look at her hair off to the, I think when you're looking at it, it's off to the right, her hair looks like bigger in the back, and I realize she's back to back with Lizzy. So I'm wondering if they're cornered by walkers and they end up, you know, back to back with their guns pointing, trying to keep each other safe and take out these walkers. Where's Tyrese? That's my thing, is we don't see them with Tyrese at all. So while we all assume that that's what happened, they're still kind of leaving us hanging. We don't really know who the girls are with for sure. But it's assumed that it's Tyrese. Okay, are you guys following with me? Is this too much of a weird system to do this? There were just so many different spots that I thought I would talk about everything with their own little subjects, okay? So let me know how I'm doing. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is, where is it? I have like 6 pages of notes here. Is Beth. Okay, here we go. So 1 minute, 39 seconds. We see Beth we see her on this little hill next to the train tracks. I'll explain how I know it's next to the train tracks in just a minute, but the way you see her, she's got kind of her arms out and she's looking at all of these bodies. And behind her, she's on kind of a little hill, and there's woods off to the side, and at the top of the little hill, there's 2 logs there, 2 or 3 logs. So keep that in your mind. And she's looking at a bunch of bodies on the ground. And to me, the bodies look like walkers. You can see that their faces are kind of grayish, and they're all, you know, they're all chopped up and, you know, gross and bloody. So it appears as if someone killed them. And it looks, though, there's one body off to the far right that looks like it's just been picked clean of all the flesh, and it's just really gross. So it makes me think that there were actual people there that had been killed by the walkers, and then someone killed the walkers. And we just see Beth kind of standing there, and she looks really upset. And then at 1 minute 43 seconds, we see the same portion of the tracks where Beth was standing. You notice the small hill and the logs up top, and they're the same logs from 1 minute 39. And then, if you're watching those logs, someone runs out from the bushes and stands right there, and it's Tyrese. So whether or not they're there at the same time, we still don't know, and it's so frustrating. But it does lead me to believe that Beth was in the same place that Tyrese was, So maybe they get to meet up. It was so awesome to see that. We see that they're in the same place. Okay, sorry, I'm rambling. And then at 3 minutes and 27 seconds, we see a view from up where Beth and Tyrese were standing, looking down at all of the walkers. But instead, the walkers are still alive, and it looks as if they're eating people, like maybe 2 or 3 people are dead, and they're eating them. And then there are, how many walkers did I say? There's at least 4 bodies, and I think there were at least 3 or 4 walkers. So that was kind of the before, but we don't know who is standing up there looking down on these guys. My guess, since Beth saw all of that, I kind of think potentially Daryl killed the walkers, and Beth is just like looking at the dead bodies there as well. The walkers were eating them, and she's just seen so much horrific stuff recently with her dad and just everything that she's seen. She's probably just like devastated and horrified, and I think any of us would be. Okay, my next point. At 1 minute 47 seconds, we see Beth in a field, and we quickly discover that it's actually a golf course. The reasoning behind that is that there's an upturned golf cart right there in front of her, and then behind her, all of a sudden she looks behind her, and there's like 6 walkers coming out of the woods, and there's a flag like on the golf course, on golf courses where the hole goes in, the ball goes in the hole. Why don't I know what that's called all of a sudden? Okay, so we see her there, and of course we don't see Daryl with her, and I think that all of these scenes where we just see Beth and we don't see them together, even though we know they're together, I think they're just misleading us and hoping that we misinterpret it, kind of leading us astray. I don't think there's any reason why Daryl would leave Beth unless something crazy happened and they somehow got separated. But he's not going to leave her. She doesn't really know how to fend for herself. But I think they're trying to make the focus on Beth and Maggie and their, how upset they are over their father's death and being ripped away from everyone that they love. And so they're trying to focus on their emotions and how they're surviving, and that's why they're just zooming in on their faces and making it look as if they're alone. So we saw that. That was really interesting at 1 minute 47 seconds. At 1 minute 57 seconds, so shortly after, we're back in the woods. We see the walkers, which I think are the same walkers from the golf course. And we see Beth hiding behind a tree, and she pulls out her knife like she's going to take on these walkers by herself. And again, I'm guessing that Daryl's probably right there. They're just not showing it and making it look like she's all tough and doing all of this stuff all by herself. And then at 1 minute 53 seconds, so just before this, we see Maggie crouched down on the ground. So we've seen brief glimpses earlier in the promo about her, she looks really upset on her face, and she's like determined. And then we see her crouched down on the ground, and she's doing something. She's got a serious look on her face, and they zoom in on her wedding ring. But right behind her wedding ring is her other hand with a knife, and she's like either writing something on the ground with the knife or carving something. I don't know. It looks like she's doing something. But again, they're trying to play on her emotions and how upset and how difficult it is for her to have lost her father, not know if her sister is alive, and not know if Glenn is alive. And again, they're trying to make it look as if she's alone. She's probably still with Bob and Sasha. I doubt that they've all gotten separated. I just really don't think so. I think, again, they're just trying to play on her feelings and show all of the emotion that she's going through, and that's why they're focusing on her. And one last really interesting part, so I really hope that you guys have all stayed with me. If any of you stopped watching already, you're going to miss this. But at 3 minutes and 16 seconds, they showed a clip of filming where someone was doing like the take 1, and you see the sign, and I didn't really at first know why they put that in there, because you don't really see anything at all. And I watched the promo like maybe 3 or 4 times before I realized that directly behind, so there's the arm, directly behind the arm, you see the person in the riot gear, and you don't see like their full body, but you can see the pants, and you see the orange backpack. So this has been a huge thing since the last promo came out, that whether or not the person in the riot gear is Glenn or Tara or someone else, and a lot of people think it's a girl, because when the image of the person in right here running with Tara, it looked as if the person had a ponytail or like some hair back here. And other people, so some people were saying it's a ponytail or long hair. Other people were saying it's the top of a backpack because you can see the bottom of the backpack underneath. So this portion of the preview at 3 minutes and 16 seconds showing an orange backpack, it really confirms my belief that this is Glenn. I don't see any reason as to why it would be Tara. I know that a lot of probably my viewers and a lot of Walking Dead fans in general think that it's Tara or think that it's not Glenn, someone other than Glenn. I'm just like 100% believing that it's Glenn now. Just from this image and then everything else that I've seen. I mean, I know we all want to really dig deep into our theories and clues and look at all of the clues, and we all think our own reasoning is the correct one, so I guess we'll only know the truth when we actually watch the episodes. But that is it for today, and I really hope that you guys stuck with me this long. I'm sorry this video is so long. Yeah, that's it. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and I'm so thankful that you guys have all stuck around with me. I'm over 100 subscribers now, and I know in the grand scheme of YouTube that is not very many at all, but I am so thankful that each and every one of you have been so nice to me and given me lovely comments and been so encouraging. So thank you for that. If this is the first time you've ever watched my video, please subscribe because I do videos every week, and I'll be doing even more once the new season starts up. And that's it. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.